The University of California has almost no black students. It has very few Latino students, even though the Latino population has virtually doubled in the last 10 years. We know what they mean. You can have affirmative action, any affirmative action program that doesn't use race. What we mean by that is any affirmative action program that doesn't work. We want a university which is essentially all white, which is what the University of Michigan was before affirmative action. It's what it will be again if their proposal passes.
Mr. Washington or any of the panelists who would like to respond. We're moving on to another topical area.
We've covered a lot of ground. I'd like to respond to his comment on resegregation. BAM,
sure, you have 60 seconds.
Typical, BAM constantly says it's resegregate, all its printed material and so forth. The removal of discrimination in favor of people who do not have the same scores and abilities of others who apply to a university, removing that is not discrimination. It's not resegregation, and to make it truly a fair,
Mr. Glazer, speaking to the microphone, please.
Is just and to castigate it in those terms is just appalling. Well, I don't think this thing really works. I can't hear it at all. I've tried to complain to it.
I think the more we speak into him, the better the sound. There we go.
How's that work?
So the next topic being, and we're sort of dancing around it and touching on it, is it possible to have, let's say, affirmative action programs exclusively based upon socioeconomic makeup, and have those still affect the bottom line the way an affirmative action program based upon race could affect the bottom line? And that's to any of the panelists that choose to accept that, and we'll give you a minute
I would like
to respond.
Right.
Sure. Well, Mr. Yob first, and then we'll move to you.
Okay. The answer to that question is absolutely yes, it does work. It has worked in California. There are a couple of schools, 2 schools in California, that aren't up to their pre-1997 levels of Prop 209, 2 of the, whatever there are, 7, 8, 9 schools that I studied anyway. And UCLA that Mr. Washington mentioned is one of them, but all of the other schools are equal to their 1997 levels or above at this stage. And same thing in Texas. After it was initiated in Texas back in, I think that was 1997, and the years after that, the minority admissions actually increased in Texas. According to a study right here by the University of California by President Robert Dines. This is literally the key points of his study. Since the implementation of Prop 209, differences in the admission rates of similar students of different races and ethnicities have been reduced dramatically. So even Mr. Dines, who is certainly an opponent of Prop 209, recognizes that the differences have been made up through other types of affirmative action programs.
Okay. I think that most people would agree that socioeconomic status is one of the biggest crimes in this nation, whereas schools that are lacking behind severely, K through 12, you can't just give them a bonus prize, throw them into college, and expect them to do well. However, the fact that wealth is intrinsically tied to housing, the judicial system, education, and occupation is very key in noting that in those 4 areas there is still racial discrimination. So to only benefit socioeconomic status is to completely forget that America, to some degree throughout the past 300 years, has discriminated against certain races specifically so that their socioeconomic status is of a certain level. So we are completely forgetting about one of the major factors. If I'm still going in for an interview as a female, as a black woman, my socioeconomic status is not on the table, my race is. That is the first thing that people are seeing. My gender is second. And it is very important to note that that is not something that we can simply forget. Though socioeconomic status would assist in this gap, there is nothing, in my opinion, that would assist the most besides race.
Yeah, 2 points in regards to what Mr. Glazer has said. I'd like to talk about facts. The fact is that after Prop 209 passed in California, there was immediate decline in state contracts awarded to women-owned businesses. In 1994, women made up 37% of the faculty of the University of California, and after the proposal passed, it dropped to 25%. And something that I'm particularly interested in, the percent of skilled trades jobs held by women has dropped 1/3 in California since the proposal passed. And then one other thing about the economic status, women still today in Michigan earn 67 cents for every dollar that men do. So, and I can't press and emphasize enough that the people that will be most directly affected by this are women, and particularly white women. It's unfortunately white women, according to a focus group that was done recently, don't realize it. So the average white woman not being educated on the subject matter would be for the proposal, but once they're given the actual information of what happens or what would happen if it passed, then it completely flips and they are opposed then to the proposal.
I'd like to respond to that.
Mr. Glacier.
The initiative does not address socioeconomic whatever. It really targets, it really addresses race and discrimination. And it's really a tangent to go off on that, I feel. The whole idea of resegregating is volatile, emotional language meant to take it up to a pitch that really isn't relevant. I don't feel, and it's a scare tactic as well that Ward Connolly and other people have criticized in terms of California's university system, to say the numbers have dropped so precipitously and so forth. What you've seen is a redistribution of students' ability to institutions at a level of higher education that's appropriate with their preparation and skills. The emphasis by Ward Connolly and others is greater preparation and development of people's potential, not discriminating against others to get them into elite universities.
Thank you, Mr. Glacier. We're going to go to a media panelist.
My name's Azizi, Jasper. I'm co-organizer of this event, as well as Grand Rapids Community College student. This is a question that's open to the entire panel. Prior to integration, African Americans were forced to be self-owned. We had banks, government agencies, stores, and most importantly, in my opinion, institutions. I often hear when talking to individuals in regards to affirmative action that it is a crutch for minorities, specifically African Americans. Are there any suggestions of alternatives that could foster and encourage an even greater amount of self-sufficiency in the African American community, such as the way we had prior to desegregation?
Sure. I actually like to add two things on that. And the two things are this. In 1954, there was a decision by the Supreme Court, Brown versus Board of Education. That decision said that separate can never be equal. Why? Because if you have a society that's segregated on the basis of race, if everyone's equal, then why segregate them? The point of segregation is to mean unequal. Like it means inequality. Okay, we had our own banks, but they were nowhere near that of what the white banks were. We had our institutions nowhere near what the white institutions were. It just meant that our opportunities were limited to a varying degree. When the University of Michigan adopted their affirmative action programs, they did so because there was a fight on that campus to open those doors up.